Hello and welcome. If you are new here, I'm Taylor. I'm the host of the Dive podcast. I'm also a musical theatre performer and I've been in the industry for over 10 years. Alongside that, I'm also a yoga and dance teacher, and I'm the creator and founder of The Dive, which is the fastest growing support platform for musical theatre artists, both emerging and professional. Join us for conversations on mindset, behind the scenes stories of professionals in the industry, and how you can navigate the challenges that we face as artists. Once a week, you'll have a professional guest come on the show who we will interview. And every second week, you'll have me as your podcast host, where I'll be coming on and sharing with you practical exercises and resources to help you on your way to becoming a professional in the industry.
You've heard before. We know you know our names and our fame and our faces. All about the glories and the disgraces. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. But just for you tonight, we're divorced, beheaded, died. Welcome to the show, to the history mix. Switching up the flow as we add the prefix. Everybody knows that we used to be six wives, but now we're ex-wives. We're six. Whoa, whoa, we're six. Whoa, we're six. Whoa, whoa, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 more minute. We're six.
Joining us today on the Dive podcast, we have the incredibly talented Kim Hodgson, who is currently captivating audiences as Catherine of Aragon in the global phenomenon Six the Musical. Kim's journey to this lead role has been nothing short of inspiring, and today she's here to share it all with us. In this episode, we're going to be diving deep into Kim's path from her early days in the industry to becoming a leading lady on some of the biggest stages in Australia. We'll talk about the importance of putting yourself first, nurturing that inner child within us all, and how all of these principles have guided her through every challenge and show, no matter how daunting the odds were. Kim also opens up with us about the realities of auditioning for major musical productions and offers invaluable advice for the next generation of performers. So whether you're gearing up for your first big audition or you're just looking to get the most out of every opportunity, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Well, welcome back to the podcast. You're actually the first person to be brought back into the Dive podcast, Kimmy.
Yay! That was how exciting.
Oh, it's awesome. And we were just talking that your last episode that we had was actually the second episode of the Dive podcast all the way back in January. And it's still rated the top 5 most downloaded episode in the Dive history, which is just
That is
way to go.
wild to me.
Yeah.
That is so wild to me. How exciting.
So, of course, we had to get you back on, and you're currently in Six the Musical in Melbourne at the time of recording this. And we're going to be going into that and a bit about your journey. And I'm just so excited to have you on.
Thanks, Tay. Thanks for having me again.
So, Kim, can you just take us through your journey again from starting musical theatre to now leading this role of Catherine of Aragon in Six the Musical? And what were some of the key moments or decisions that kind of helped you position yourself in a way to now be getting these lead roles?
Yeah, I think I touched on this on the last time that we had a chat. But when I was at university in Brisbane at the Conservatorium of Music, I graduated from there 11 years ago.
Ooh.
And I know, I can't understand how time has gone so quickly. It's so wild.
Yeah.
And I guess since then, the first probably 9 years of my career, I have spent being an understudy. And so since graduating,
I have probably spent the last 9 years of my career being an understudy. And so what that means is that I have been in the ensemble and also covering lead roles, which is a really challenging job. I did not book my own role in a big commercial mainstream touring musical until I did Miss Saigon, which was last year. And so I guess it's taken a really long time for me to transition from being a cover in the ensemble to booking a lead role. And I think, to go back to the question, I think where I am now playing Aragon in 6 has been a result of the things that have just happened just leading up to it. And so when people, I guess, saw me in Miss Saigon playing the role of Gigi, from there I then played Anita in West Side to now playing Catherine of Aragon in 6, I think have all kind of just been a consequence of each other. And I think the universe has aligned itself in a way that it has all just kind of
Directioned itself in that
Yes.
progression. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very long-winded answer, but I think just to, in a little capsule, I guess, where I am now has all been truly dependent on these last little things that have just happened to me in my later part of my career currently, which is something that has been kind of completely out of my control.
Well, it's been awesome watching you just shine, and you're such a hilarious individual, but also so talented. And I kind of asked that question because a lot of us and a lot of the viewers that watch and listen to the podcast are aspiring musical theatre performers, but we also have performers in the industry, and we can sometimes feel when we're in the industry or even leading up to getting in that we're either typecast or we're just the dancer or just these labels and things that we put on ourselves. So did you find, I mean, in your kind of story, that it was more of a natural progression that you went into being a lead? Were you always wanting to be a lead from the start?
I have felt pretty passionately about leading a company and telling a story. I have always felt very, very passionate about that. And it's a funny thing because I think objectively you look at it and you're like, well, doesn't that take a bit of ego, or doesn't that? I don't know. There's this maybe a stigma attached to that. But I feel personally as an artist, I've always felt very strongly about leading a company and telling a story. And I found that the way that my career has kind of played out, I did feel like, 9 or 10 years is a long time to be feeling like you've been pigeonholed into a particular track type, I guess. And so it does make you question whether you are good enough.
Right.
And I guess that has been the ongoing challenge and battle for me mentally, is that I have had to try and convince myself that I am good enough to do that. And that's hard. That's a long time. It's not a long time in the scheme of like how many years people work in industry, but 9-10 years is a really long time to be working so hard at a particular thing to not maybe pass the opportunity within that time. It's a long time to be questioning your capabilities and your skills. And I guess in the end, really, now that I'm here, it kind of doesn't really have to do anything with me, and it has a lot to do with timing, and when things are right, they will happen.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah.
And I know guess in that progression, you always wanted to be a lead and starting the ensemble, because with these beautiful, wonderful, bigger goals that we aspire to, there is that progression that we need to understand and take acknowledgement over. And I guess through that time when you were in the ensemble and then you were covering and getting those little opportunities to then go on, you were talking about reassuring yourself. It was probably in those moments that when you did go on for that lead, you were like, oh, that's right, this is where I was wanting to be. But I guess that's a really cool way to actually even if people are looking to become a lead, that if you don't get a lead straight away, being an ensemble, covering, getting a taste for it, because sometimes what we actually want, we don't actually know what it's like until we're there. And I know it could have I know it didn't happen for you, but maybe for some other people, I know, for an example, people that want to be a swing, they go and be a swing and very quickly realize that, oh, it's not actually what they thought it was going to be. But I guess for you, did you have that experience going in and then going on for the lead and going, actually, yes, this is definitely something I want to continue?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have had it no other way than to have had the jobs that I have had, because I've learned so much. And I think all of that learning leading up to this point has really made a huge difference, I think, in the type of performer that I am and the way that I guess hold myself as a performer. And the thing is that, yes, I had so many of those moments in the ensemble, and you're working so hard. You work so hard as an ensemble member, and you play such an important part in adding the little details to the story that's been told. And then on the side of that, you work so many hours to try and make sure that you're ready to go on and to lead the company in a way that you're going to be proud of and that the company are going to be happy with. And when you finally get to do that role and you finally get to celebrate the hard work that you have done for yourself and that everyone has kind of championed you to get to that point, it is truly eye-opening. And it will either solidify what you know and truly feel is right for you and what you want to do and what you're passionate about and what you want to strive towards. And two, it can really make you think, I actually don't know if this is me. There is a huge responsibility. I guess it really does depend on the type of roles that you're covering. But the job that you have to do as a lead is also very difficult. And the thing is, the exciting thing as a cover is you do it, maybe you never get to do it, which has happened to me before, but then you do get to do it every so often. And so it's very exciting. You are doing the show with a whole lot of adrenaline and beautiful feelings in your body that you just have never experienced. And then to be able to do that and try and replicate that magic. And it's not even replicating the magic, because really that's what live theatre is. You just do it and it's different every night. But to consistently provide audiences with a magical performance in a role is a very tough job. And so that is also another thing that I'm learning, is that as much as I have absolutely strived and wanted to do this, it is challenging in the way that I do it every single night.
Yes. There's no, okay, we're going on for a cover once a week. This is the full gig.
Yeah.
And that's amazing, because now you've had that experience of Gigi and Catherine and Anita, and really stepping into that, looking at them all as an individual character. There's some pretty tough roles, to not only take on board, but to do 8 shows a week. How has that influenced your maybe perspective now as a performer and as a lead? And has your kind of routine changed in the way that you're looking after yourself?
Yeah, it's really interesting, because although they have been my first roles that I've booked, I have learned so much about myself that honestly I never thought that I would ever have to learn. And I'm almost 32 and I've been doing this forever. And I have learned the most about myself probably in the past 1.5 to 2 years. And most of that has been because of the jobs that I've booked. I think firstly, when I did Miss Saigon, that was a dream role and a dream show. And I had given all of my heart and my spirit to that show, to the point where I left the contract early, because it got to a point where I actually had nothing left to give. I felt so passionately about the show and I gave so much of myself that I had very little left to give. And I said to myself, I respect the show and the story so much that I can't not give it what I want to give it. And so because I can't do that, I have to step away, which is so wild to me to think that I would ever come to a decision like that when it's the first role that I've ever booked. It's a dream show. It's a dream role. And I didn't have anything booked after that. I didn't have anything. And I think there's also this like pressure that you put on yourself is to, I need to book another one. I need to prove myself. I need to back it up. I need to make sure that it wasn't a fluke. I need to make sure that it wasn't just coincidental. And so that was a really hard decision that I think I had to make to realize what it was that I was actually doing and what was required of to be able to do things that I'm really passionate about and give whatever I could give. So that was a huge learning experience for me. Not long after that, after I made that decision that I wasn't going to move forward with that contract, West Side Story happened. And I think I remember talking to you about this when I was auditioning for this role. I honestly did not think that was a role that I could be doing in my 30s on a rake stage. And I was in a frenzy trying to train, to ready myself to do another dream role in a show that I absolutely loved. I did it 5 years previous to doing the latest production, and I covered the role. And I said, I'm never going to be able to do this again. Like I'm in my 30s. I can't be doing this show again in another 5 years. I don't think my body will be able to do it. And I had a lot of doubt going into that room, and I had a lot of fear. And I ended up saying to myself, you know what? I've actually got nothing to lose. I need to go in there for myself and just do it. When they said, we actually want you to do the job, I thought, well, I'm going to have to figure out how I can do this. Thankfully, I was doing a 6-show week. They were single shows and it was a short season. And I thought, you know what? I can do this. I trained a lot. I trained really hard, and I had to learn how to speak to my body very kindly because it was doing things that I never thought that it would be able to do at the age that I am. And it was a really challenging experience in the way that I just had to be so kind and so grateful that my body was able to do this multiple times a week. And it was something that I didn't think I would be capable of doing. And I did get injured, and I was injured for like almost the whole way through the season, but I don't know how, I somehow managed to figure out ways to help my body. And that was hours of like conditioning, ice baths, rolling out, laying on the Shakti mat. But truly, I think the most beneficial thing was literally speaking to my body and saying that I'm actually okay, because we're just going to tell this story only a couple more times and you're safe. I don't know how I did it, but we got through it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you hit the nail on the head in terms of feeling safe. And I recently would been teaching a lot of students and getting in the room and really noticing that since, I don't want to bring up COVID, but since COVID, I feel like there's a lot of us that are especially students that are scared or to be more vulnerable and to put yourself out there. And something that I'm starting to teach in classes that I'm teaching is to really bring that fun back and really bringing yourself to a place where you can feel safe, because I feel like that's when you can produce your best work, especially since the pandemic that we had. And it's just awesome that you've said that, and the importance of it's not just the ice baths and the practical things, but a lot of the time, and the things that I'm learning right now, is the free things are the most like powerful. Our breath, or the simple tool of mindset and getting on board with yourself and being, literally talking to yourself and saying, you know what, putting things into perspective like you just did. 6 shows, it's all good, because we all have that inner child within us that is needing reassurance. And one of the most beautiful things is that we can give it to ourselves. And it's really the only assurance we're really looking for. And that's just so beautiful that you were able to do that and continue and into a beautiful another role. How was that, like, from making that decision from Gigi? I mean, you still did Gigi for such a wonderful time, a long time, and which was cool. But what was that like? And then getting that next stage of, okay, now I'm going to be Anita. Was that kind of affirmation or reassurance that you were looking for, or?
Yeah, it was very full. It was a very full circle moment to have been gifted the opportunity of this like time to be able to do that role. And I think that's also another thing that I learned, that it's okay to step away from things and that something will come if it's meant to come. Because really at that point I had no other job, and I thought, you know what, maybe it's time for me to have a little break. Maybe it's time to have more time for me. And I had a little break, like a tiny break between, but I thought, you know what, I would absolutely love to play Anita, and to do it for such a short amount of time. I said, after this, I can have a break. In the meantime, I was auditioning for Six. Actually, it was the week before. It was the week before my one-on-one. No, it was the 2 days before my one-on-one rehearsals for the Anita choreography. I had my Six audition. And I was a bit hesitant, to be honest, to audition for Six, because I had seen it in the original Australian touring production, and I thought, gosh, those girls work hard. They work really hard, and that looks like a hard show, energetically, physically, vocally. So it looks like a hard show. And my mindset at that time, thinking, maybe it is time to have a break. And I said, no, you know what? I remember auditioning for this show, whenever it came, way back when. And I couldn't finish the auditions because I was doing Fangirls at the time. So I was only there for, I think, 1 or 2 days. And I ended up auditioning for a couple of characters, and I felt very comfortable doing the Aragon material. That was way back when. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just go in again, and maybe this time I'll have a better idea of what I actually should look at before going in, because there's a lot of material and I would probably fit into maybe a number of different queens. I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just give it a go. It's going to be hard, but you know what, I'm a theatre girl, like through and through. And this is like a pop show. I haven't done like poppy things since growing up. I'm very like empty. I thought, you know what, why not just do it? And I went in there, and look, I don't know if I did the best that I could when I first sang, but knew that the panel had seen me do Gigi and had seen me play Anita. And I just thought, I actually can only do the best that I can do. And if they believe in me, then maybe they will see me for something. I ended up spending 2 days learning a whole lot of choreography, and the choreography is amazing. It's so detailed.
It's so fun. So fun.
It's so fun. And I sang for a couple of the queens and did a couple of the monologues, and thought, I only had 2 days because then I was into rehearsals for Westside and I couldn't complete the rest of it. So we had to smash out all of the material that we could, had to film it all. So it was in a really short amount of time, and I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess you just do what you got to do. And the way that things worked out, it's very funny. Halfway through the season, I ended up finding out that I booked Aragon. And I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that show. I honestly was like, that is a hard show. And I know I'm currently doing probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. And I just thought, what have I done? What have I done? And learning the show was probably one of the hardest things I think I have ever done. They're so detailed, and it is so wonderfully complicated and challenging in its very like simple. It's simple, but it's not simple because it's really dense. The material is really dense. And I thought, I am lucky that I've learned how to speak kindly to myself, because I need to speak kindly to my brain, because I have not had to learn something as intricate as this for a very long time. And I had a few meltdowns and I had to go back and be like, okay, I remember how to talk to myself kindly and to be patient with myself, because it's all well and good to be a perfectionist, but unfortunately, when you are exhausted from full days of rehearsals and your brain's not quite keeping up, that it just takes time. And so I'm now into the season and I'm having the best time. It's one of the funnest shows I've ever done. As hard as it is energetically, it is one of the most fun shows I've ever done, with such a great group of people, really great group of people.
So wonderful. And I mean, I got to see it for opening night in Melbourne, which was so fun. And it was awesome seeing you up there. And I mean, gosh, for anyone that doesn't know about Six, it's, I'm just reading it from here. It's a global phenomenon which has taken the world by storm. It's arrived in Melbourne currently, if you're here to come and see it, as it's captivating so many beautiful audiences. And it's really cool because I absolutely loved it myself, because I got to see it for opening, and oh my gosh, there's no interval. You're on stage for, how long is it? It's 90 minutes?
80, 90, yeah, something like that. Yeah, 80 something minutes. It's full on. Yeah.
And I really love this kind of progression that I'm seeing in your career, and how really looking at your mindset and looking back on yourself and really looking after yourself, and actually acknowledging when things are going to be tough, because sometimes we just push that to the side, right? We're like, oh no, we just do whatever, don't acknowledge it. But I think there was so much power, and correct me if I'm wrong, from what I'm hearing, is that there was a lot of power in acknowledging and going, okay, this is tough. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but by actually acknowledging it, you probably lowered the stakes for yourself in a way, and actually gave yourself space to, go into each of those roles. And do you feel like you're more proud of yourself that for each of those times that's happened, you've kind of come into it, not feeling like you could do it, and then now it's something that is just so awesomely fulfilling?
I think in my entire time that I've been working in this industry, I've not been more proud of myself till now. I think I've overcome some of the hardest challenges mentally and physically, emotionally, and to be able to look at what I'm doing and knowing how hard I had to really work at being patient with myself and being kind to myself, I am all the more proud for where I'm at and what I'm doing because of it, because that's the hardest thing. You can train as hard as you want. You can do as many singing lessons and dancing lessons as you want, but there is nothing that will train you more than the practice of being kind to yourself. So yeah, I'm so proud. I constantly give myself pats on the back because I'm like, girl, you are doing this. Remember when you were crying like the other day when you were like, I can't do anything. I have no talent. And then you're like, girl, you're doing this. So dramatic. It's so dramatic. But it is. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the fun of it, really. You either laugh or you cry, but I'm really proud of myself.
I'm proud of you as well.
Thanks.
Yeah. So Six is obviously a very, very high energy show and requires a lot of you. How do you maintain your vocal health, your physical health, especially under the pressure of performing in such a demanding environment for 8 shows a week?
Yeah, I have figured out a nice little routine for myself. I started training actually before West Side Story, and I've kind of tried to keep that up leading into it. And then whilst I was rehearsing, I kept training. So physically, I've really strived towards conditioning my body so that I'm really strong, especially with costumes and with the high energy, like cardiovascular requirement of the show. I've tried to maintain my training so that I feel like when I'm doing my job, I don't feel as exhausted. But it's saying that it means there's a whole lot more exertion of energy. So I'm eating so much more. I'm sleeping so much more. I nap, I power nap. I was power napping at rehearsals. I'd take myself at lunchtime after I had lunch with the group. I would take myself to the rehearsal room and nap. I nap every day. I'm steaming. I'm doing all the vocal health stuff. I'm trying to just be so conscious of allocating time in my day for myself, just to make sure that I have enough to give. And in order to be able to do that, even though it's a minutes of my day, sometimes it is hours of my day preparing myself to make sure that I'm okay and that I'm good to go. So,
and I think there's so
it
much
takes time.
So much power in that, because I think a lot, especially students, aspiring students, they want to hustle. Like, they just want to go. And we learn through the early years that if we don't listen to our bodies, it will tell us for sure. And that I think as well, not only stepping into being a lead, but it's really that shift from being a student to a professional, when you really put your job first, or maybe even your job second, in the way that you put yourself first, and seeing that how that's played out of your career and how rewarding that has been is really inspiring.
That's very kind. Yeah. It's it's not easy, is it?
No. So I know sometimes I say to myself, like, why am I doing this? For example, I'm such a morning person. I think we went for coffee not that long ago about how I'm such a morning person. And now I get to shows and it's interval, and if I'm not on, I'm like nodding to sleep. I mean, you couldn't do that in 6. You know, it's hilarious how what this industry does to us. Oh my gosh.
I know. It's hard to keep up. But you know what? Sleep is a huge thing. I feel like sleep, naps, power naps, meditations, anything to get some sort of rest is a huge benefit, I think, to keeping up with the demand.
Oh, absolutely. So let's just take a step back for a second, and I want to talk about auditions, because a lot of students on here, they want to know everything. They want to know what I need to expect and how can I best show myself, how can I stand out, all that stuff. But I would love to know if you have any guidance to give to a student that is going in maybe for the first time for a big major musical audition. The nerves are sitting in, they're not sure what's going to happen. What advice would you give to this new generation that's coming through?
I think it's important not to put unrealistic expectations on yourself. I think it's important to be realistic of potential outcomes so that you're not feeling devastated afterwards, or this might actually be the moment that you get the job too. So I think with those two things, I think it's important for you to go in knowing that you've done the work, that you are worthy of the time to show the work that you've done, and to walk away from it knowing that you've done everything that you could, you've put the work in, and that regardless of the result, it actually doesn't matter, because you're so worthy regardless of the decision that's being made at the end of the day. And I think it's really important that as long as you go in there with the mindset of, I have something to show you, I have something that I've been working on, you've given me a time to show that. So I'm going to take the space and I'm going to take the time that you've allocated to me to show you what I can do. And I think it's really hard. It's really hard in like high pressure situations and environments like an audition to get overwhelmed with the amount of people that are there, the producers, the directors, the content that you're learning. I know I get very overwhelmed when I go into a dance call because I have terrible pickup skills. And I get terrified of what people think of me because I am a working performer and I can't pick up simple things because I get overwhelmed. And that is something that honestly, I've done how many jobs and I still have that fear. So to reassure you that it might not get easier, but what can change is your mindset and just relieving yourself of any unnecessary pressure and expectation that it's not serving what you're doing. And if you can separate that, then you will at least set yourself up for some sort of success. And that doesn't mean booking a job. That means going in there and doing a good job.
Great. Fantastic. Oh, it's so awesome. I love speaking to you. I feel like we've just gone down memory lane and also just seeing all the I think it's really beautiful. I mean, we always get so many beautiful messages on this podcast is we're all in the same boat at the end of the day. And I feel as much as we can kind of break the barrier between professionals and students, we were all students once, and it's so awesome to hear your vulnerability and even your guidance of stuff that you're going through today, because I feel like when you are a student and we just put all of these professionals in such a category, but we've all got our own things, and it's awesome. And I know that the community is going to get a lot out of our discussion today.
Good. Yay.
Well, if you want to catch Kim, you got to go and check out Six, the musical. You got to go check her out. She is currently in Melbourne from the time of filming at the Comedy Theatre until October 20th. Then they're heading over to the Theatre Royale in Sydney from the 25th of October, and then heading to Brisbane from the 2nd of January 2025. You can also check out all the tickets on sixthemusical.com.au. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Kim. It's been awesome chatting with you, and I can't wait to catch up with you again. It's just been awesome connecting, and yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Tad. Thanks for having me.
Bye.